obviously Ryan Day has a lot of pressure on him in this game. Do you think that's going to help Ohio State or hurt Ohio State playing with their backs against the wall?
I think it could go either way. But I really think we see it in sports all the time. When teams are getting heavily criticized, you know what they do? They rally the troops. They circle the wagons. You can come up with a few more cliches as to what they do, but it happens all the time. It's us against the world mentality. Nobody, this is what Ohio State feels right now. Nobody believes in you because you lost to Michigan. You're a bunch of bums. Your coach should be fired. You guys are no good. We spent all this money on you and you've underachieved. You ought to be giving us money back. I mean, please. And so that's all they're hearing. And that usually brings out the best in teams.
I know.
And I think the only way it would work against, if things go poorly at the start and the crowd turns on Ohio State, that's not out of the realm of possibility. It could work against Ohio State. But going into the game, I think it's a positive motivating force.
But could it be like, I'm going to go because Dave's such a fan. Do you remember Chan Gailey's last year as head coach of the Cowboys, where the Cowboys backed into the playoffs at 8-8, and then they got draxed by Minnesota? I mean, humiliated. And then, of course, Jerry Jones fires Chan Gailey and is like, I want Dave Campo as my head coach. You know, one of the smartest people to ever coach football. I'm kidding.
Chan Gailey, right up there with best coaching decisions with Dave Clawson, who retired, by the way. I'm going to flip-flop my offensive line to no cursing at an NFL practice. Really?
But I'm saying, could it be? We've seen teams. I'll go to basketball. Just to go to basketball, what about this, John? Remember when Mike Hamilton said on a radio show that if Bruce Pearl doesn't make the Sweet 16, he's fired? And that's when Tennessee got blown out by Michigan, Tobias Harris's last year. So it can work the other way a lot of times, can it? Where just the negative noise just has you wilt and collapse beneath the pressure and get blown out.
Yeah, but I just think in this Ohio State case, you've got a bunch of elite athletes. I don't think anybody doubts that Ohio State has some talent. I just think it's really going to motivate these guys because they're not used to failing. They're not used to losing. And here they're taking all this heat because they lost one game. And I think it's really going to inspire this team.
Yeah, and you know who it really inspires most oftentimes are what those players coach types. And I think we would all agree that Ryan Day is that type. You know, he's not the standoffish corner of the room Larry Coker guy. I get the feeling that they'll want to rally for him. I hate it when analysts say this, but I think the beginning of the game is incredibly important, John. Not that anybody says, boy, let's just go out there and stink it up for the first 8 minutes and see what happens. You know, I hate it when people say that, but I do think some bad mojo could be happening on Ohio State sideline.
Yeah, it's like saying, the opening minutes of surgery are really important.
Right.
Yeah.
The other one I love is
slice that artery.
Yeah.
Hard to bounce back from that.
The other one I love is other than turnovers and performance in the red zone, we just fell short. Oh, Lordy Marty. I mean, that's like, you know.
Well, so
climbing Mount Everest without arms or legs.
But to bolster Dave's point, John, because Kirk Herbstreit even suggested this. I mean, we know the fans have, we know fans in Ohio are very, very upset with Ryan Day right now. And Herbstreit suggested that if things go wrong early, that the fans will start booing. Do you see that as a possibility? Ohio State fans in the middle of a playoff game that could still go either way will just start booing Ryan Day if things go wrong in the first 5-6 minutes of the game?
Not that soon. I think if Ohio State got down 14-0, I think some fans would boo. Or they might boo a decision during the course of the game. But fans do that even when they like their coaches. So I thought that was over the top with what Kirk Herbstreit said. He said they'd be better off maybe playing on the road. Give me a break. Are you kidding me? Come on. Come on down and, he
might as well have sent them all a personal letter saying you need to give it your all for Ohio State. That's what he was doing.
I know it was just absurd. I don't know what was going on in his head, but yeah, come on down to Neyland Stadium. Oh man, this certainly helps us. Gosh, I can't hear anything in the huddle on the sidelines or in the locker room. No, this will be great. Everybody's against us.
I feel like I need a hazmat suit to use the restroom. Have you ever been in the away locker rooms? Nasty.
Well, I'm just going to say, I mean, it was a little bit extra, but y'all keep talking about this rallying for coaches. Tennessee really rallied for Butch Jones when Georgia came to town after Butch Jones lashed out at the media that week.
That does not compare. You picked a guy that was hated with great disdain by his own players.
They just abhorred him. I mean,
I get it. I'm just saying, Jerry Green. Yeah, they really rallied for Jerry Green in 2001.
Yeah, but those are horrible examples, though, Caleb. I think Ryan Day. I've never heard that he's not a popular.
They completely rallied around Jerry Green. What was his last game? Was that the game he coached against Georgetown in the NIT?
Charlotte.
It was Charlotte when Tony Harris put up the last shot, and I really thought it was going to knock down the backboard.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
He missed it by like 20 feet.
Yeah.
And I had to go. That was an afternoon game, wasn't it?
Yeah, they should have just played it early morning, got it over with.
Did Jerry Green make happy hour afterward?
God, Caleb, you're just brutal with people. You attacked him personally.
Is that really going to have a big effect on the players that are not only trying to improve their draft stock, but theoretically would want to play for some mythical championship that's out there that some committee has put together on a week-by-week basis to provide a television show to ESPN? Theoretically.
Theoretically, I just think the Ryan Day thing is a huge factor.
Oh, you do think it's okay?
Yeah, I really do.
Do you, Caleb? Because I think kind of thought we were doing bit radio for a second. I don't think ultimately that has a huge effect on this game and how. It plays
John,
out.
Do you think it's a huge factor and a positive for Ryan Day, though? Right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It wouldn't be for Butch Jones since we brought him up for comparative purposes. But I think
before we get to our next one, what about this one then? I think a more comparative purpose because you compared him to Philip Fulmer. There were plenty of times where there were articles after articles about Philip Fulmer losing control of the team. Sometimes they responded well, sometimes they didn't. The one I remember where they responded well, y'all both covered, was the 2007 Georgia game where a lot of players signed like that letter or whatever supporting Philip Fulmer, and he got mad at some writer for quoting I forget who, and it wasn't John and it wasn't Dave, but for quoting anonymous sources talking about how he had lost control of the program. He called it a cheap shot. Tennessee went out and blew out Georgia. So they rallied for him that day, but then like the next year, 2008, I don't remember them rallying for Philip Fulmer in any big game that year when his job was sliding away.
John, I guess this would go back to the Ryan Day thing. I think you have to take with a grain of salt what you get leading up to these games. And everybody wants to predict and tell you that Nico is going to throw 5 touchdowns or 3 interceptions. But at the end of the day, these are just 2 very good football teams. And probably there will be about 5 or 6 plays that determine who wins this football game.
Okay, and the team that makes the fewest turnovers.
Yeah, well, I don't want to
come out on top.
I don't want to go down that. Gets off to the best start and best red zone offense, best red zone defense too. No, I'm not including everything. I just think this is when you're on the big boy stage. So if you have something special you want to pull out, Josh Heupel, go for it. This is a time that I think you need to look at this where the talent differential is not significant. We could debate how significant, if at all. But you have a chance to go out there and shoot your shot. This is what you have fought for so long for, is this ability to go out there and shoot your shot, one good clean shot, John. And this can easily define a program. It gets the naysayers wondering about Ryan Day. It gets other people more confident in a program, like when you beat Alabama in 2022. So I mean, this can definitely determine the branch that this program goes under Josh Heupel.
Yeah, well, as far as the motivational thing with Ryan Day, it's not just about Ryan Day. with the players. I just think it's the fact that the whole program is being scrutinized in an unfavorable way because of a loss to Michigan. And so to me, that's kind of the overriding factor. I've just seen that so many times in sports. I mean, coaches can have the number one in team in the country from the start of the season to the very last, and you'll still hear players talking about, we don't get any respect. Why? You're number one. People voted you. No, we don't. They love that. They look for reasons to say we don't get any respect, and so now Ohio State has gotten disrespected, as the players like to say, very much so after the Michigan loss. I just think that is a big plus for Ohio State going into the game. And once the game starts, you think, all bets are off once you take that first hit. You're in the middle of the game. But I think leading up to the game, in terms of preparation, in terms of being focused, and I do think it gives you a little bit extra even in the game.